Things don't aren't going to make sense. I got to be honest with you. If you're starting off, even if you're years into it, it's not going to make sense. It doesn't make sense to me. Like you're going to be stumped in a lot of ways. You won't be able to. It's almost going to feel it's like if you ever played games where it's like you have like the free version, but then the paid version, like stuff like RuneScape or other games where it's almost like there's a free version, but there's also like a paid version, like or there's this locked area that you can't go to. It's not going to make sense. There's a lot of questions that I try to find them. I've tried to find answers to, but I find it hard to because, I mean, to be honest with you, things aren't just not going to make sense. You're not like fucking like Socrates. Not everything's not just going to make sense to you now. I know I speak a lot in these videos about this advice that I give you, but in reality, like I'm still struggling in a lot of ways. I don't have the answers for everything. And whenever I'm up next to somebody else who has so much more experience than I, it becomes clear that like, I'm still just like a 17-year-old kid who has not been in the world that long and who has been in the world of self-improvement and knowledge for even less than that. But there's some sort of good thought that comes from that, you know, I'm at this age and I don't know everything. But the longer I live and the longer I continue to stay on this journey, the more it'll make sense. Let's think about it. Near the beginning of the year, like maybe in a classroom, you took like a test, and the teacher, she gives you like a test on like everything that's going to be in the class. Like some of these classes, everything that's going to be on the class. It's like a post, like it's like what like those, it's like those like pre-exams like things. You know what I'm talking about, where like the teacher gives you a test that you guys are going to be taking near the end of the year, and you know how you just like absolutely butcher it. Like you absolutely butcher it because you don't understand it. None of it makes sense. But throughout the semester, whenever you're constantly taking this stuff in the class, eventually near the end, whenever you take that test again, you do way better than you did before. Now, I'm not saying you do perfect, obviously, but you understand more pieces than originally you did. It's the same thing when it comes to anything. This could be self improvement. This could be trying to do deep work. This can come from just a habit that you like to do or a hobby. You're not going to understand everything now. That's not how it works. I don't understand hardly anything at all. That's why, it's funny that we think of somebody like Socrates as like one of these like really wise figures, and he has always been the one to say the one thing that I know is nothing. To have that kind of mindset is so beautiful. That in the grand scheme of things, if I think Alex Hormozy said this too, if you zoom out far enough, you don't see the earth. That's crazy to think about, right? If you zoom out far enough, you're not going to see the earth because there's just so much other things, so much bigger things bigger than us that's out there. And we're so caught up with if we don't understand this concept now. Let's think about all the problems that's happening in the world. And you're upset because you don't understand a concept. There may be concepts that you never understand. Maybe concepts I never understand. But how about we wake up and we decide that we're going to go try to find what we're looking for? Instead of just being complacent with not knowing things, we actively try to explore. Because there's some people, I will tell you this, is that there are some people who I see who they don't find the answers to their questions. And because of that, they just kind of stay and just kind of be like lazy, and they stay just doing bad habits. What we don't want to do, we don't want to do this. Now, we want you to be complacent, but not for the reason that you don't understand a certain concept, but rather that this is life and that you're not going to understand some things. That's fine. So, but you can still continue to explore to try and find the answers. Speak with other people. Speak with people who are wiser than you. This is a wonderful mindset to start having, is that there's so much that you don't know, but there's also so much you can learn. There's so many things that you can start to learn. I think a lot of this mindset that I had came from starting to learn Spanish, to be honest with you. I mean, that might sound crazy, but I was thrown into like my Spanish 4 class when I first went. There was just people in there. There was native speakers in there. There was just people in the class who were younger than me. People in the class who were in the same grade as me, who spoke much better Spanish than I did. But near the end of the semester, like I talk to people in the class, and I see from their perspective, and I'm able to grow from that. There's a lot of concepts that I didn't understand, but once I started to talk to them, once I started to like kind of actively try to look for the reason why, this is whenever I actually started to understand Spanish way better. This is like I said, it's a great mindset to have, regardless of whatever you're trying to do, is that you're not going to understand it. And stop making this deadline of, oh, you have to understand it at this point, because we make this mistake that, and like I made this mistake in Spanish 4, that that by the end of the semester, I have to have this sort of fluency in Spanish. Stop having this due date for you understanding something, because that almost makes it feels like it's an assignment. That's not what we're trying to do. We're not trying to have an assignment. We're trying to have goals. This isn't a job project. This is life. And when you're trying to develop this healthy mindset of trying to build these things up in your life, stop looking at it as though it's your job, as though it's like a school assignment. You want to make gains? Stop waiting 3 months. It's going to take years to look good. This isn't something that's going to happen overnight. That's not how gains work. That's not how anything works, for that matter. You're not going to read 10 pages for 3 months and then all of a sudden everything's going to change. Obviously you're going to have a massive amount of change that's going to happen from if you do that. But this isn't going to mean that this isn't going to mean by the end of it you're going to be somehow enlightened. There's still going to be things that you read in the pages that you just didn't understand. There's going to be questions that you have. So you should always look at yourself as a lifelong student, that you're always learning, that there's always something that people have that they understand that you don't. Start having this mindset, and let me tell you, like, you're not going to look at life as though like you're the one who just knows everything, but then whenever you don't understand something, that means nobody gets it. There's probably somebody who gets it around you, somebody who you could probably talk to, a book you could read, a video you could watch, where someone can actually break it down for you. Don't be ashamed of that. You're a student, you're a lifelong student. You're somebody who will continue to learn. And if you continue to learn through your entire life, you will flourish. You will make growth. This is what we're trying to do. We're not trying to be we're not trying to be like this Andrew Tate guy who like we just don't understand everything. Like we just always have like the right thing to say and right time, or with our hands like this, thinking that we know everything. We're not. We're not. I mean, like, let's just be clear here. We're not. We're not these all knowledgeable people who just understand every single thing. We're human. That's all I have for you boys.